Tonight at 6.
Baton Rouge police union officials say they are considering legal action against an out-of-state police agency. That story coming up.
The healthcare reform bill may have passed through the House, but Governor Bobby Jindal says it's unconstitutional and the fight is not over.
If you think you've got house problems, just wait till you see why these people had to call 911.
First in local HD news, Louisiana's news channel brings you 9 News at 6.
Good evening, I'm George Sells.
And I'm Donna Britt. The Baton Rouge Police Union says enough is enough. They're threatening to file a lawsuit.
Lawyers for the police union are mulling over their options after the release of information on an investigation nearly 5 years old. You may remember New Mexico State Police making remarks about how Baton Rouge police conducted themselves following Hurricane Katrina. WAFB's Jim Shannon has this 9 News update from the newsroom. Jim?
George, the union is plenty angry over remarks the New Mexico State Police made following Katrina. Now that the internal investigation has been made public, local police think their voices should be heard.
During Katrina, New Mexico State Police came to Louisiana to help. In their time here, they accused Baton Rouge officers of racist activities. Now, newly published reports of those accusations have raised the ire of union officials who say, no way.
And that's our whole premise. These are unfounded, unsubstantiated allegations. And if you remember, in 2006, there was a press conference called after the investigation of these troopers. I think you were there, but the chief did it, and there was 2 officers that were disciplined, and he released everything.
Right. Union President Chris Stewart says the New Mexico troopers used bogus accusations to get out of helping out after the storm.
It was manageable, and they didn't like it, and they were here for a couple of days, and they wanted to go home, and this was a mechanism for them to say, hey, we don't like the way these guys police. We're getting out of here.
The union has contacted lawyers who are trying to figure out a legal way to get their story out.
And to be called racist and just rogue cops and all the allegations that were made, it's offensive to us. We felt like we needed to come out and try to clear the air with the public as best we can.
Exactly what will be filed against whom is yet to be determined at this point. George?
Okay, thank you, Jim Shannon.
President Obama will sign into law a health care reform bill more than a year in the making, and then he'll hit the road to sell it to the public. Now, you've probably heard some of the arguing between lawmakers over this bill. It's a breakdown. Here it is of what it all means. Health care reform will cost roughly $938 billion, funded by a combination of tax hikes on the wealthy and cuts to Medicare. It will expand coverage to 32 million Americans, but most won't go into effect until 2014. There will be no more pre-existing conditions clauses in health care insurance contracts, and stiff competition could mean much lower insurance costs. So not one member of Louisiana's House delegation supported the bill, and Governor Jindal simply calls it unconstitutional. The Attorney General's office plans to file a lawsuit challenging that overhaul. Now, WAP's Keitha Nelson has the latest on what leaders here are saying about this historic legislation.
They're saying a lot, Donna. Now, Governor Jindal says one of his biggest concerns is the Medicaid expansion. It would cost the state up to $345 million a year. Attorney General Buddy Caldwell, along with AGs in several other southern states, are now working together to protest the bill.
The motion to concur in the Senate amendment is adopted.
After a spirited debate and despite angry protesters, the health care reform bill passed through the House, but not without disapproval from Louisiana legislators.
I would strongly encourage our elected officials in Washington, D.C. to read the Constitution, read the 10th Amendment.
Jindal says the part of the health care reform bill making health insurance a requirement is a clear violation of the Constitution.
That it's not a perfect bill, but it really gets us moving towards something that's really important.
Nancy McPherson of AARP believes the thousands of members she serves will benefit from the controversial bill. Insurance companies will not be able to discriminate on the basis of age or medical history when it comes to giving coverage. McPherson says something needs to be done quickly because people are suffering.
People are making decisions about, do I continue to buy my prescription drugs, or do I put groceries on the table? Do I pay my utility bill? This is scary stuff for people.
Governor Jindal says there would be 360,000 new Medicaid enrollees in Louisiana. He worries what could happen to our already struggling Medicaid program.
You've got $1 trillion spending plan at a time of record deficits.
Louisiana is set to gain up to $300 million in Medicaid funds. Senator Mary Landrieu negotiated to get that money when the Senate passed the measure a few months ago. When asked if the state would accept that money,
we'll see when the bill passes.
Governor Jindal says he's also pushing for legislation that would prohibit insurance coverage of abortions in Louisiana. Meanwhile, Senator Vitter introduced legislation today that would repeal the newly passed health care plan.
At its core, that health care reform legislation will put the government between us and our doctors. It will raise health care costs significantly.
You can check out Senator Vitter and Governor Jindal's full remarks on WAFB.com. Donna?
Okay, thank you, Keitha. On WAFB.com, we asked if you support the health care overhaul bill passed by Congress, and so far, 27% do support the plan, 73% do not. You still have time to log on if you want your voice heard.
Speaking of voting, the city of Central is gearing up for a big election Saturday. In just about an hour, the candidates will appear for the first time in public forum, make that the last time in public forum before the big election. Candidates for mayor, police chief, and city council will appear tonight at Greenville Springs Baptist Church at 7 o'clock. The church address is on your screen. Voters in Central head to the polls on Saturday. 9 News will have more on the forum tonight at 10, and comprehensive election returns Saturday night.
He's facing more than 2 years in prison. Today, the former head of Citizens Insurance pled guilty to theft by fraud. Terry Lasada was accused of misusing about $30,000 from Louisiana's insurer of last resort and 2 related insurance organizations. Now, in audits conducted in 2003 and 2006, Lasada allegedly ran up more than $285,000 in questionable expenses, including lavish meals and trips and airline tickets and retirement gifts. Port Allen police officer Jason Chambers is behind bars tonight. He's accused of using excessive force on a suspect. Chief Fred Smith says the investigation shows that Chambers kicked a man while the man was under control. Chambers is being held on $30,000 bond.
It's out with the old and in with the new. This morning, Baton Rouge officials broke ground on a brand new fire station. The new fire and EMS station will be 10,000 square feet. It's located on Florida Boulevard near Baton Rouge General Mid-City and will replace station number 1 on Laurel Street that's been there more than 80 years. It's been up and running for 84.
We're doing this to maximize our 3 to 6 minute response throughout the city, and it'll move a block or two. But for overall, the response times are going to be patterned to stay the same, if not better.
Now, this is what the new station will look like when it's finished. It will house 4 bays for fire and EMS equipment and crews.
Well, new for you tonight at 10. New details on a strange story out of the North Shore. A dad reportedly stabbed his family and was killed while making a getaway. Plus, a judge heard the case of a Mississippi teen whose prom was canceled because she wanted to bring her girlfriend. We'll tell you what was decided there. That's at 10.